The financial markets can be a scary place, and they don't rest for anybody. Our goal here at A1 Trading is to bring you coverage every day, so you can be up to speed on the latest market moves. Before the show begins, remember that trading involves risk, and that anything shared in our content should not be construed as financial advice.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Where does the allocation of funds happen right now?
It'll go exactly where you want it to go. The next bit after that, you'll enter it and then it'll go up.
How would you enter, right? What if you're new to order blocks? What if you're nervous, right? Let's say.
And the correction moves is in the A, B, C move.
Today's stream is made possible by our partners and sponsors. If you're looking for a new broker, trying to get funded, or looking for a trading community to join, consider checking out the links in the description below. By using these links, you'll get access to great products and be supporting the channel. Without further ado, the show is about to begin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the A1 Trading YouTube channel. Today I am joined by a very special returning guest, the one, the only RT Forex, my friend Ryan. Welcome back to the channel, man.
Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Down in Dubai, we got the daylight savings thing was messing up for a while, but you're back.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so I was streaming a few months ago, and then the time clocks changed, so it was like 8 o'clock at night here, which was a wee bit too late for me.
Yeah.
Get tired.
No, it's totally understandable. We're just glad you're back. Ryan, for those of you guys who are newer to whether the YouTube channel or you've never seen Ryan before, he's got his own YouTube channel, which you can check out, RT Forex. But on top of that, Ryan, you're primarily a technical trader. You spend most of your time trading currency pairs. Is that right? Are you more indices these days? What are you looking at most right now?
Whatever sets up really. So I always say I'm kind of purely technical, but I do use my risk sentiment in the morning, analyzing the SPX. So yeah, from my setups, I'm primarily technical based. I found when I did my back testing that, I didn't know any fundamentals at this point in time, and I had good results, and kind of went from there. So it seems to work for me, as we always say, it's whatever works for you, and that seems to work for me.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, if we want to just pull up your screen here, we can start taking a look at whatever you'd like to look. I'll spend a minute or two just kind of chatting with you, and then I'll leave you to do your thing.
Sure.
What are we looking at today? What's kind of caught your eye?
So unfortunately, not that much today. I watched a stream just 20, 30 minutes ago, just before I came on, and you're saying that a lot of these pairs are extended. For me, the pairs likes of Aussie yen, for example, if you bring up Aussie yen here, that's had really good moves over the past, 5-6 days where we're getting markets that are quite extended and possibly a little bit climactic up at this area. So I personally was trying to find an entry down here. I couldn't get one in, and things seem to be moving quite well. There's a few things I'm looking at. Primarily, the first one is actually Bitcoin. So this is probably my I'm normally a London session trader, so obviously some of the pairs that I was looking at have kind of gone, but the one that I have my eyes on is this Bitcoin trade here. So, which I think is quite interesting because I do consider this counter trend. In my mind, Bitcoin, in my mind, I was thinking Bitcoin just wants to touch this 30K mark, as a kind of key area of support. But I don't know whether that's going to happen now. We have broken, if I zoom in on my chart, so it's a bit easier to see. We have broken this daily anchor here. However, I will consider it counter trend because we have come from a decent impulse, and we could be in our simple trend theory of nice movement to the downside, corrective, and then we continue down. However, what I like about it is we are seeing some bullish pressure here. So, one of my favorite setups is a cup with handle, I call it, but it's essentially increasing pressure into an area. And we've kind of got this setup here with nice price action moving into the break of zone. So what I'm looking at here is essentially a breakout retest of this area, 20 period catch up for movement back up to this major resistance zone at 45. So I'd say that's probably my pick of the bunch today. Anyway.
That makes sense. So Ryan, so when I love the cup and handle pattern myself too. It's like really simple, right? You've just got something that's very strong. It's looking for that breakout. And then, so would you be looking for signs of a break and retest? And then obviously I think you're probably targeting that orange zone as kind of a take profit level. What would you be thinking stop loss take profit with that kind of idea?
Yeah. So normally with my trades, so what I'm looking for is I have two types of retest I like. I have the first one I call a steady state retest, and my second is my personal favorite, an ABC. By an ABC breakout, if this was our breakout zone, would be a kind of movement like this before continuation, right? It looks to be with the price action we're seeing now here, and if I zoom in again so you can see a little bit better, we're kind of getting that steady state retest or price acceptance above this area we've broken out on. So for me, I use, again, very simplistic things, this 20 period SMA to get me into trades. It's kind of as a visual guide to get me into trades at the right time. Because I often see, like we've seen back here, price does pull back to around that 20 SMA. So I'm looking for a 20 period catch up to digest this big bullish bar here on the break, and a catalyst, what I call a catalyst to entry, whether that be a simple hammer bar, engulfer bar, morning star, something like that, that tells me that this retest has been successful and it wants to move to the upside. Ideally, that catalyst also comes on increasing volume, and that for me would signal a good reason to buy this Bitcoin up here. In terms of take profits, I usually put 50%. So let's say, for example, I have a hammer bar here, I would buy this candle, my stop loss underneath, and take my 50% off at 1-to-1 risk reward, and then I just let the rest run as much as it wants to run. Let my winners run.
And when you say let it run, do you start trailing stops from there? Do you set a further out target? How do you handle, let's say it rallies up, you take your 50% off. How do you handle the rest of the trade, like specifically?
So I trail the swings. So if let's say we're here, I'm looking just to basically trail these swings. On breaks of highs, I consider that swing complete and just move my stop up, completing, and just, that's essentially the idea of just riding that trend up. Doesn't normally happen like this. I mean, I wish it did happen like this all the time, but that's the premise of my trade management.
That makes complete sense. And like you, I wish that happened all the time. It'd be really nice. Whenever you get the trade and then it just keeps going and going, and it's like the easiest trade stop. That's the best.
In a perfect world it does, right? But this unfortunately doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, right, exactly. So very cool. Well, Ryan, I'm going to leave you to it. Guys, before I go, Ryan, how can people find you? You have a YouTube channel, you have Instagram, right? So how can people find you wherever you're at?
Yeah, I've got a YouTube at rt.forex. Close to hitting 1,000 subs, so if anybody likes my content, head over there. And
hey, let's see if we can get them to 1,000, guys.
My Instagram's the same, rt.forex as well.
Awesome. Yeah, so guys, just search up RT Forex on YouTube if you'd like to hear more from him. I'm going to hop out here, leave Ryan to take over the show, and you know the drill. Whenever you're done, Chandler will get you set up. So
perfect. Appreciate that, Nick.
Man, good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
All right, man. Have a good stream.
Right, everyone. Hope you're well. Let me just go through some of the comments. Sorry, I know a lot of you are newer here. I see some older members. Dawn, how you doing, buddy? Hope you are well. I think I saw Denise from, can't really say back in the day, but when I used to stream on A1. Brad Dawn, bro, my Crypt Keeper, NZD CAD. I'll look through some pairs that you want me to at the end of the stream. So Hale, first time. Yeah, thanks for coming, mate. Windy, Admire. God, there's too many to go through. I appreciate you all being here. So what I thought about doing today, because there is a lot of newer people here since I last streamed, is to kind of go through my personal trading style, some examples of the trades that I like to see that's happened over the the first quarter of the year. I want to talk a little bit about FTMO, funded program. Hey, Aaron, mate, how you doing? And then I'll go into some of your guys' trades as well. Jordan, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well, thank you. Although it's starting to get a wee bit hotter here in Dubai, which is not very nice. So for me, if I bring up, I'll just bring up paint here. This is probably easier. Ooh. I just want to explain what kind of trader I am. So I've been doing this for 7 years now. It took me 2.5 to become profitable. Unfortunately, 2.5 years of pain, as a lot of profitable traders will tell you. Nick will probably tell you the same thing. Before I started to really see some results in my trading. I started out as a breakout retest trader. Well, actually, I started out as a terrible trader, but when I started back testing and really finding my edge was breakout retest. And from then I developed a breakout strategy that I use on the 4-hour plus time frame. So the 4-hour daily and the weekly. I also am developing right now what I'm calling an aggressive strategy, which is kind of like a pre-break strategy, a pre-breakout strategy, which is currently in progress. And my fourth one is actually a fake out strategy, which again is currently in progress. But these are my bread and butters: breakout and breakout retest. So what I do, and again, I'll show you the example in a second. Hey, Martin, starting to gain some knowledge. Oh, hopefully you do. Hopefully you do. What I'm looking for is comprised of a few different facets. The first is our context. Okay. The second is using higher time frame confluence, and the third is our trade management, what I just touched on a little bit there. So in terms of context, what I mean is the context or the price action we're seeing prior to a break of a significant zone. Now, obviously, you've got to think about support and resistance zone. You've got to be clued up in that in order to be a good breakout trader, I feel, but I won't go into that today. So what I'm looking at is 3 simple contexts. One of them, as I just touched on, was a cup with handle. The second is a V reversal, and the third is our one that you probably all know, a head and shoulders pattern. Now, a lot of people think these are simplistic, and they are simplistic in nature. But essentially, what I'm looking for within these three patterns is an increase in pressure onto this major zone, whether it be a support zone or resistance zone. With the idea of these contexts being, if we knock on the door enough, i.e. we keep knocking on this door, this level becomes less significant as time goes on, not inevitably, but hopefully leading to a decent break to the upside, i.e. Are increasing our higher lows into this area as we move up. So our cup with handle, as I talked briefly then, and again, I will show you examples here, is essentially a pattern that looks like this, okay? So what we got here, essentially rising pressure into this zone. What ideally I like, and again, I'll go into this in a second, is a cup with handle within a cup with handle. So we're essentially seeing increasing pressure as we break out, okay? That's our cup with handle. The second one is a V reversal, and what you often sometimes find on news events where you get that volatility. So if we have movement to the upside, up into this area, we're looking for a sharp move down and a big move up. Some would call this potential institutional stop points, if you believe that happens or not. That's up to you. But a V reversal back before a break. And the third one, our head and shoulders, I think that's very self-explanatory. We're looking left shoulder, right shoulder, head. What I'm looking for then, in terms of a breakout retest that I did touch on, is our steady state retest, which is steady state candles back to the area before movement up, or an ABC retest. So we got A, B, C, A, B, C, movement to the upside. The third thing with the breakout retest is my catalyst. So that's my simple chart patterns, engulfing bar, hammer bar on high volume as my catalyst to entry for movement to the upside. So that's the breakout retest. And the context in terms of the breakout is just everything apart from this. In terms of my breakouts, I can take these on the 30-minute plus timeframes, and my breakout, as I said, on the 4-hour plus. So let me give you an example, examples of from this year of what I like to see, and then I'll go into your particular pairs after I touch on FTMO as well. So here's an example of a breakout that happened quite recently on pound Aussie, and one that unfortunately I did not get into because I was not at the charts. So here's a great example. So this is what we would call our cup with handle within a cup with handle. So we've identified our significant zone here. Notice we've got our basing structure. Okay, we've tagged the zone again. Not only have we tagged the zone, we've also, looking at this 200 coming up, we're also looking at this zone. Once we break out, we'll be underneath that 200 and underneath that 20, i.e. on the right side of those moving averages. So we have our basing structure here, i.e. our cup. Then we create our handle, right? So we've got lower lows into this area, okay? And then we've got, then this is great because I usually like to see quite a lot of mess, what I call, within this area. But anybody watching here can identify, and I'll zoom in on this so you can see better. Anyone here can identify a pattern within this area that again is a good sign, i.e. our cup with handle, within our cup with handle, that says this possibly wants to move to the downside. There you go, a question for you, 110 people. Anybody see a pattern here, from here, that tells me that this potentially wants to move down? Any guesses? Think about the context that I just talked about. Double top, I mean, you could call it a double top, yeah. Not really something that I'm looking for. Consolidation, yeah, is a good word, Jaylene. You can call this consolidation. Head and shoulders, well done, bro. Well done, bro. Well done, bro. Bro edits. Head and shoulders, that's what I was looking at here. Head and shoulders pattern. And notice as well, as we tag in on the level, look how many times we're tagging on it. Again, and increasing pressure into it. And then we take a break from here, stop loss above the previous swing. Head and shoulders, well done, guys. Yep, well done, well done. And look at the power that that had. Okay, as we move down, Now, for me, again, I take profits at 50, 1-to-1, which is roughly around there. And then I essentially trail the swings. So we're looking at trailing here, broken up underneath the lows. Okay, we've got a new swing here, broken underneath the lows, got a new swing here, and we keep going down until we get stopped out roughly at this area here, down here, for a really nice gain, I'll show you another example of what I like here on another pound pair, actually, pound Swiss. Broke off the neckline, yeah, that's involved with the head and shoulders. Yep, you're correct. So on this pound Swiss, hammer candle, yeah, you had your hammer. If we go back to GA, you can look at this as well on GA. If we go back here, I mean, this is not really a hammer candle, actually. If you're talking about this one, or you're talking about this one, it would make sense, yeah? But notice where this hammer is rejecting from as well, that 200. We've got rejection from that 200. We're at that 20. You know, 20, using this 20 period, you see price retrace to it a lot of times. And it's a good thing for a breakout trader to get you in on trades at the right time. It's very simple. Like I went so far away from putting everything on my charts, Bollinger Bands, all, you know, everything you can name of, to come back to simply, you know, 200 MA, 220 MA and volume. Now notice as well with this volume, what we also like to see is increasing volume on break of structure, right? It shows me that institutions are being involved in this pair moving to the downside, because that's where the volume comes from, right? So pound Aussie there, a great example of a breakout that I like. Again, if we go through to pound Swiss, I'll give you another example, pound Swiss. At this zone here, we don't have a cup with handle, but essentially all the contexts are the same thing, but we've got our V reversal here, right? This is our key zone. Again, look at where the 200 is coming down. Not only we've got a V reversal, we've kind of got a V reversal or pull back into it, tag of this area again. Okay, another V reversal or cup with handle within a V reversal. And then what have we got here again? Look at this. So what's there? You should be able to get that quite easily. Head and shoulders. Was that now or is that later? Head and shoulders, yeah, correct. I mean, we've got our head and shoulders within this area as well. And you can call this accumulation, yes, but you know, it's roughly, you know, kind of same thing. We're seeing a possible accumulation of orders before breaks of this area. So we do the same thing. We take our swing low, we take the breakout from here, we take 50%, or I personally take 50% at 1-to-1, and then we start trailing the swings. And again, another good result on that particular trade. Inverse head and shoulder, yep, correct, Baba, correct. But again, look where we are, look where the 20 is. Okay, look where we are from kind of market structure, is that we've broken these anchors here. Right, we could possibly call this a larger period of accumulation before we move back up to the upside. So we're getting possible confluence there with our higher time frames. So that's how I kind of personally like to trade. Now I'll show you another example before I get into the kind of pairs you've asked me, but I'll show you a losing example, because we have to do that. Nothing is the holy grail. Of one that I took, was it today or yesterday? No, one that I took yesterday on pound USD, which we were actually talking about, or Nick was talking about just before. This was a counter trend idea. Okay, this was a counter trend idea, but we've got our We can either call this a cup with handle, or we can call it a head and shoulders if you want to take our level from here. Okay, so we can look at this as this. I was particularly just looking at it here. Okay, and we had our, what I call this pattern here. Okay, it's part of our accumulation phase. What we're essentially doing with this cup with handle is we're digesting this impulse, because what we don't want to do as breakout traders is we don't want to take breaks of key levels that come from deep like this, because they're often susceptible to things like this, right? A snapback and a movement to the downside. How many fake outs, or how many failed breakouts are there in terms of a percentage? What do you think? 10%, 20%, 30%? What is the percentage of failed breakouts in the currency market? Anybody have a guess? What's your time frame? I want to do back testing on your free time. Well, my breakouts is 4 hour and daily, and my breakout retest is 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour daily. 60, no. 30, no. Well, I wish it was 30. That would be quite nice, but no, it's higher. It's higher than that. It's higher than 60. It's 70% of breakouts fail, right? And you'll see it a lot of times. You'll see it a lot of times with price movement up here. You'll get a failed break to the upside, and it snaps back, possibly going into stop locations. Well done, Don. You've been paying attention. You'll see a lot of these failed breakouts that come into around those stop locations and then move to the upside. Now, I actually got trapped in this because I took this on this particular break on this candle here. So let's pretend we don't know what's happening here, right? Okay, we don't know what's happened here. So I was looking at this setup thinking, this is quite nice. Not only do we have accumulation and squeeze into this area, creating our cup with handle, but notice this pattern here. Right, we're seeing some dominant candles here, which is a green candle. And what we call this, you know, this pattern here is actually called a rising pattern. You can have it a rising 3, a rising 4, or a rising 5, right? It's essentially an outside bullish engulfing, and then smaller, either 3, 4, or 5 smaller candles within this, followed by another larger outside bullish engulfing, right? It's called an igniting pattern. Okay, it's supposed to ignite moves to the upside. Ideally, we get this on higher volume here, lowering volume in the middle, and then higher volume on this outside candle. Okay, so we've got that here. So I like that. Not only that, we kind of had a double rising pattern here as well. Volume on the break. Now, with this particular example, I unfortunately got caught in, I'm pretty sure this was a pretty stereotypical stop hunt before it moved to the upside, because look where it went. Here, my stop was here, tagged out here, I'm in here, tagged out here, and then we move back up to the upside. So it doesn't work all the time. You know, nothing ever does. But that was a trade that I took that unfortunately got stopped out. So pound USD, and let me see if I can give you an example of my breakout retest. I took a New Zealand yen quite some time ago. I think it was in January. I'll see if I can find that so I can give you an example of what I like. Pretty sure it was in January. Here we go. So New Zealand yen. So notice with this, now remember, I cannot take breakouts. I like the strategy in the manner of explaining. Oh, thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Did you like it? Like the video? Helps A1 trading out. So notice here, remember, so with me, with my breakouts, I cannot take breakouts on the 30-minute or 1 hour charts. I don't look at anything less than that. You know, I found that it doesn't really resonate with me. I'm a bit more of a swing trader, right? And I found that the fake outs happen quite a lot on these smaller time frames. So I only use the breakout retest. Okay. So with this New Zealand yen here, you can see the context, right? Nice corrective structure from this basing structure. Again, increasing pressure down into this area. We're getting nice, healthy price action. We're not just breaking straight, right? Look how price action comes correct, pushes on, tags that area again, comes out. Look at these wicks to the upside, back to that 20. And we push through, and not only do we push through, but we push through on increasing volume, okay? And if we zoom in to our retest, remember the retest I like are an ABC or a steady state retest. Right, what are we seeing if I get rid of all this? Right, what are we seeing here? We're seeing an A wave, okay, B wave here, and come up to C wave. Okay, and this is our catalyst for entry. This is for me looking at this chart saying, okay, we broke out of this zone. The market has now told me with this particular candle coming on increasing volume that that the market's happy with that retest. It's happy with being in that area, and it wants to move back down to the downside. Okay, it didn't happen at first, but this is important because, and notice also it comes with a 20. I used to trade this where I sold this candle. Okay, I would sell it like this. My risk reward was quite good in terms of a payoff ratio, i.e., how much money you make per winning trade. Right? If you have normally the rule is if you have a higher payoff ratio, you have a lower win rate. Like for me personally, in the way I like to trade, I kind of prefer to have a lower payoff ratio, but I win more trades. So what I decided to do was, and this came from back testing, this is how I found my data, was move my stop to the previous swing rather than the candle. So in this particular instance, I would have been stopped out there previously, but I was still in this trade because my stop was up here. Okay, so my entry's in here. And then notice what happened as we move along is that price started to fall down. Okay, so that's another good example of a breakout retest, and also a very important example of, you know, I think a lot of traders would be helped by increasing their stop loss. You know, giving the trade room to breathe will certainly help you out, I think personally. So it's something you need to go and test. So there's a very brief example of kind of how I like to trade. I'll probably do this. I'll be back on every week, so I'll start to kind of go into it a lot more as I go along. There's a lot of more different facets, but that's essentially how I trade. What I'll do now then is, as I kind of talked about with Bitcoin, this is the main one that I'm looking at. So I do like this. I did think that, okay, it is a counter trend idea. I do still think that maybe Bitcoin wants to hit that 30K, but you know, using technical analysis and seeing what I'm seeing on the charts, I would probably expect this to fall from this larger kind of market structure, and it's not doing that. It's getting support here. So I like the idea of this. If it does come on a retest, and a retest kind of like we've just seen on New Zealand yen, right? 20 period catch up, possible steady state retest back to this area, and a reason to enter, which is my catalyst, an RTE, for movement back up to possibly around that 45K and maybe more. Because I think Bitcoin will be helped by the fact that stock market's pushing on. We're getting a little bit of certainty. You know, inflationary fears, we've got that certainty. I know we still have that fundamental situation, which is horrible, but markets are pushing. So Bitcoin I do like. Okay, let's have a look at any pairs that you guys want me to look at. Just so you guys know, I'm actually in the middle of a FTMO 200K verification. And these market conditions the last couple of weeks since January, February, March have been not very great for my trading style. I've not been, I'm selective, to be honest, on most of the time. But as a trend continuation trader, I need trends, and we haven't really got that. Certainly not ones that I can get involved in. I had a great January, but very quiet February and March. So I actually started this 200K verification challenge in summer of last year. And I kept getting free repeats because I was trading very well, but just very consistently, you know, your 3-4%. And then I passed it in January. And now I've got the 2 months verification on this 200K, which unfortunately hasn't started very well. So I'm trying to get this back up. I've still got until like mid-April to hopefully get this up. But yeah, these FTMOs are difficult. They're if any of you have any of you done any of these funded challenges, FTMO challenges? No, I don't, Ian. I don't, Ian, mate. I don't, buddy. Yeah, does any of you done these funded challenges? Because trading is difficult, but funded challenges, and this is my kind of, I have a goal. My personal goal is to get $1 million in funded equity by, well, it was supposed to be by Christmas, but I don't think that's going to happen. But you know, in terms of trading, it's you know, I always say it's not what you do, it's what you have. It's all about capital. And you know, these FTMOs are difficult. They add an additional element of emotional or psychological I don't want to say tension. Tension is probably the best word because of that deadline that you have. So, but anyway, price you pay for the equity. My Forex funds, yeah, I need to do my Forex funds, Denise. Still trying to get them by my verification too. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. I mean, how's everybody trading? How's everybody finding this market, since obviously all the stuff happened in Russia, or still happening, unfortunately, in Russia, Ukraine? You find it difficult? There's certain strategies that I think work very well. You know, certain traders that I know trade, you know, liquidity, seem to be working very well at this point in time. I realize, similar to you, that they are not for me as timelines are rigid. Yeah, I don't like them, Paul. You know, I'm getting kind of sick of them, but I have this goal. I'm very stubborn with it. The good thing is once you get it, and once you get that buffer, the buffer is so important, or else if you don't have a buffer, you're going to lose the account. Simple, like simple. You don't get at least a 10% buffer, you will lose a funded, you know, that's the biggest thing that I always say to people is get yourself a buffer. Do not take any money out until you have at least 10%. So your max drawdown is 20. And yes, you still have the 5%, but you know, just reduces that stress. But they are a night. There's a few more popping up. I saw something institute that was quite new that seemed okay. But anyway, yeah, FTMO and my Forex funds seem to be the best, most trusted ones. The news keeps flipping the trade. Yeah, it's going from headline to headline. But I was saying, Denise, right, at on this SPX down here, from a weekly perspective, right, we got to this candle here, and I was thinking that this actually doesn't look too bad. What we have to remember, and everybody was doom and gloom at this time, and rightly so, is that we still had quite an extensive drop. Okay, you think about the COVID drop. Okay, in terms of just looking at it like this, it was quite an extensive drop, but this is still quite an extensive drop. The SPX doesn't really like to fall that much, and it has fallen quite extensively. So I personally, from an investment standpoint, puts a bit more money into my investment account at this point in time because I kind of liked it. You know, we talk about ABCs. We have a kind of ABC corrective here, hammer bar, and obviously the outside bullish engulfer last week. So I kind of like where the stock market was, but it's that resonation with the Forex market wasn't quite there yet. The fluidity wasn't quite there yet, and that's what I need in order to trade well, like we had in January, like we had, I think, October, November. But yeah, February, March has been difficult, very similar to COVID. You know, as soon as COVID came, that was difficult for me to make money. So these things, as you go along, you start to realize when your strategy works and when your strategy doesn't work, and that knowledge of knowing when to trade and when not to trade is so key. It's so key, and it can really help you in your trading. Because remember, for me as a trader, I'm not trading for tomorrow. I'm not trying to get rich overnight. I'm trying to trade for, you know, a skill that I can use for the foreseeable, right? You know, we don't want to buy that nonsense you see online from certain creators where, you know, you can flip this account in one day. You can, you know, you make 250K on one trade or some nonsense like that. It's not real trading. You know, it's not real trading. And unfortunately, that's where I could go on this topic for ages. I think some of you probably know that, but unfortunately, that's where the bad reputation of Forex trading in general comes from, is that there's that disillusion between what they're seeing online and what the realities are. Okay, sorry, let's go into some charts. Okay, Nita, Euro Swiss. Okay, let's have a look at Euro Swiss, Nita. I'll just go from there. Euro Swiss. Euro Swiss. What we think in Euro Swiss? 4 hour looks all right. We're roughly at this area right now. I don't particularly like this price action here. Buying the euro against the Swiss, it's not the nicest currency pair, to be completely honest with you. Daily perspective, what would you call this? I mean, that's a bit more. I mean, when you're looking at pullbacks, you don't really want to see price action like this. You know, you want to see price action that kind of look like this before moving to the downside. So, you know, yes, we've got our evening star roughly at this resistance area. But in terms of a bias for Euro Swiss, I wouldn't really like to give one. It's not in a very nice position. You asked me that, Nita, to be completely honest with you. Smaller time frames, they do look a bit more bearish than bullish. Possibly if you get something like this, break of this zone, you're obviously crossing these moving averages now, would maybe be my bias, but I don't particularly like where it is, to be honest with you, Anita. Martin, USD CAD. USD CAD. So I'm going through. I got a lot more comments. Bought a couple more shares of buying my investment account. Good, things good. How can I trade for your institution? I don't have an institution, Emmanuel. I wish I did. It's just me. It's just myself. I'm a new trader, and I guess I came at the wrong time. It's been tough blowing account after account. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, admire. Like, I think blowing accounts is a rite of passage for a trader. I think everybody has to do that. You know, I certainly, you know, there was something online saying some traders are good traders just because they've been bad traders for so long, and that really resonated with me because I was a terrible trader for so long. And you just get sick of blowing accounts. You get sick of losing money. That you start to, well, you should start to get to the point where you're like, I just need to stop doing this. You know, I need to go and take this, you know, do this properly. Go and back test, go and find your edge, go and understand the realities of what we're doing. And as I said, like that for me comes down to, it don't matter how much I make per month, 3%, 4%, whatever it is. All that matters is the capital that I have, because that 3%, 4% obviously becomes more the more money you have. So, you know, in terms of small accounts, I always say the same thing. I don't see the point in trading off $100 account, $1,000 account, $10,000 account. I don't see the point in that. Because the money that I'm taking home, it's not going to be worth the time that fair enough, I don't take that much time to do my scan, but it's not going to be worth it. You know, you need something worth it in terms of your trading. And you know, if it's a passive income, then yeah, great, certainly start from there. But you know, you've got to find a way to get that capital in. And unfortunately for a lot of people, funded challenges is the way to do that. Everyone blows accounts when they start, yeah. Anybody tells you different, they're a liar. Ryan, why the move to Dubai? I actually grew up here. Ian, I'm originally from Aberdeen, which is obviously quite big in oil. So I moved out here, went back to UK, to Stirling for university. Came back out here, was working in oil and gas for 5 years. And trading, starting to learn how to trade at that time. And it got to the point where I quit my job. I didn't like my job at all. And yeah, I started doing this full time a few years ago. So, yeah, and it's great. The good thing is I mean, it's expensive city. So I'm going to say no tax, but it's also expensive city to live. It's great in summer though. Great in summer. Okay, sorry. Sorry, let's go through some pairs. Aussie yen from Mohammed. Okay, Aussie yen. Sorry if I've missed your pairs. Put it in the chat and I'll have a look at it. But as I said, for me, there's not that much real opportunities here. Like, for example, Aussie yen. If you're not in this trade, I mean, what are you buying it up here? I couldn't bring myself to buy that up here. I was looking at down here, couldn't get quite. I mean, you can see what I was looking at, right? Reversal in. I was looking for a little bit more accumulation at this area to take the break to the upside. Didn't quite get in. Didn't quite get it. But in terms of Aussie yen, if you're not in that, you've got to let it go. If you're in it long, then just, you know, let it go as much as it wants to go. But, you know, in terms of buying it or you know, I don't really like counter trend, but it's not giving you a reason to enter or a reason to short this on a pullback just yet. It's got momentum to the upside, but it's just too far gone for me. Aussie yen, to be honest with you, too far gone. So that's what I would say. Euro yen. Okay, I'm gonna look at euro yen. Euro yen, again, this is another one. I mean, look at the extent of this move. The yen's been massively weak since we've seen that. And that's why we do our risk sentiment, is that when I saw that potential ABC on the SPX, this is where you're thinking, well, if we do push off, the yen could get weak. However, from a fundamental perspective, if something happens with Russia and Ukraine ceasefire, or, you know, hopefully it does, then I can't see the yen's. I can see this continuing. You know, I think the market will get a massive boost from that. So the yen's been relatively weak, and we could see it go out with technical analysis where it just drops off the face of the earth for possibly, you know, a day or two. So euro yen, again, from a technical point of view, where we're approaching a kind of key level here, and we have moved pretty significantly. So very similar to the Aussie yen, very similar. If anyone asks me about Kiwi yen, I'm going to say the same thing. if you're not in it, I wouldn't be buying it up here. You know, does it not look like it potentially will need to pull back at some point? You know, I tried to get in here again, couldn't quite get an entry, wasn't enough for me. And it's just at the point where it's just moving a bit too much for me. So if you're in it, yeah, stops down here, potentially let it run as much as it wants to run. You know, you're expecting a possible reaction around this area because we have got a reaction last time. But yeah, I would just be staying away and let these things digest a wee bit more. Do you also analyze indices? Yeah, I analyze indices on a daily basis. Dollar, Nikkei, 500, and the Dow UK 100. Yeah, on a daily basis. My main risk sentiment comes from the SPX 500. So every morning I'll look at the SPX. Every morning I'll look at the dollar, and then I'll go into my scan and what I look for, create my watch list. So this is my watch list here. From today, a lot of these have gone because, as I said, I'm a London session trader. So I've got my breakout retest level broken. USD that's unfortunately gone. Bitcoin was one I was looking at. I've got my breakout retest, potential prior to break. So these are the ones that may be setting up, but have not broken the area. And then I've got my breakout on the 4-hour daily, which obviously has nothing. So that's what I do. But yeah, absolutely analyze indexes for your risk sentiment. Getting the buffer I found is harder than the actual challenge. Yeah, just because it's exciting, right, Ewan? You do all the hard work, you get your account, and then the money signs light up in your eyes, right? So I always tell people, just reduce your risk. You know, I risk 2% trade. So if you go down to 1.5 or 1, because you don't want to go through it, all that process, and then bang, fail at that last hurdle. And a lot of it's down to, oh, I can make a lot of money now. Look what I've got the account. And it is very difficult. Yeah, I agree with you. Shiba coin summit. I don't really look at Shiba coin, mate, unfortunately. But I presume, yeah, I don't really look at that, mate. Pound Swiss. So Emmanuel, I was looking at Pound Swiss today. So here, Pound Swiss longs on the 30-minute 1 hour for a breakout retest, but it didn't actually retest for me. So notice here, what am I looking at? V reversal, right? V reversal. Now, in terms of higher time frame confluence, right? I always use the phrase ready to move. This is one of my things I always say. Is this pair ready to move? And what I mean by that is we don't want to be selling down here. You know, we kind of want to be selling roughly around these areas, right? Because we go from impulse, pullback, we're looking to get involved in these types of moves, not little moves like this. Every trade I take, I want it to be a big winner. It doesn't work that way, but that's what I want. So we had Pound Swiss here, where we pushed on, and we were in this. We had, fair enough, we had this kind of bar here, this large outside bearish engulfer here, but we settled down what looked to be a decent retest from this impulse. Got our morning star on increasing volume at the bottom, which could be our pullback entry. And I was looking to trade at this area. So visualizing what price action looks like on a break of this area, I kind of liked. So Pound Swiss, as I said, I was looking at this area for a breakout retest from this V reversal, squeeze in. We got a good move, but it didn't come back down. So it's one I've just got to let ride. But in terms of, if you're asking me right now, Pound Swiss, I still like it long. Again, we had some confluence here with our daily hammer. The issue is does this become a complex corrective, because we technically are in a downtrend? So, I mean, there is still, remember, things can come out fundamentally that will shift this market, although it looks good now. There's things that will come out that may provide certainly a bit more of a risk off tone. However, I kind of like it long. Not right now, maybe on a slight pullback for movement up to these highs. Yeah, it would make sense for me on Pound Swiss. But I think that was your entry down there. I got in on Pound Swiss at 1.226. 1.2226. Oh, all the way down there. Well done, Denise. Good entry. Are you still holding it? Are you still in it? Yeah, good entry down there. Was it on the 4 hour or something? Well done. Pound Swiss, yeah, good. Pound Swiss, USD CAD. I think, did I do USD CAD, Alex? I can't remember. USD CAD. See, USD CAD's another one. You know, in terms of a breakout trader, right? And I am a breakout trader. I definitely wouldn't be taking long. This is normally where you see fake outs, right? When things are extended. So if you have a look at them and look when things are extended, look like down here, okay, slight fake out and movement back up. This is, you see that a lot of times, you know, so USD CAD, I would only be interested if we pull back and then potentially something to go short down here. But right now, again, with the same with a lot of them, I can't bring myself to short that market. You know, we could be getting a possible exhaustive move. You know, down here, we're seeing some potential, possibly loss of momentum. But dollar looks relatively weak. And if it does want to break through structure, then yeah, you could see it move to the downside. Obviously, CAD has been a beneficiary of the oil price. Daily looks okay, though. Daily looks all right. So, and weekly looks great, though. Look at this on the weekly, right? Movement here. If it does break from a longer time frame perspective, that looks good, USD CAD, but just not yet for me. Just not yet for me. You know, possible pullback and an entry in to short that would make sense. Getting a slight reaction, I guess, off that channel trend line. I don't really like trend lines, but let's just go with it here. For breaking movement down, would have to be your bias, right, on USD CAD. USD Mexican, I like USD Mexican. RAD. USD Mexican, big V reversal on the daily. Looks to be breaking through now. I don't really want that to happen. What I need here is this to do this. Pull back, come in, bit of accumulation, break to the downside. So again, if this breaks, it's too extended for me to break. But it certainly looks bearish. Certainly looks bearish to the downside, USD Mexican. Again, a lot of these pairs are extended, guys. A lot of these pairs are extended. I mean, look at that. I can't bring myself to go short on it. I just can't do it. Because if you think about in a 100 trade perspective, right? You take that trade or that break 100 times. Maybe you make money a few times, but in terms of consistency, and that's all that matters for traders is long-term consistency. I don't think you make money on that break, USD Mexican. So yeah, if it comes back in here, potential entries on a pullback or on a breakout would make sense to me on USD Mexican. USD Mexican, Aussie dollar. I'll go through Aussie dollar, Gordon. Ryan, could you run through your retest retracement strategy, please? Yeah, I'll do that, Ian. I'll go through that again. Let's have a look at Aussie dollar. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to say the same thing. Aussie's been very strong, although not as bad as the other ones. But you know, it's broken through this area. This for me, and again, this is why I always say, I've always said a lot of things. I say a lot of things, but this is why I think your eyes are great indicators, because for me, looking at this, does that price action look enough to digest this impulse? You know, if you think about the rule, markets range or pull back 70% of the time and trend 30% of the time. So this is what I mean with your large moves. You usually take longer to digest before they move again. I just would be worried that this doesn't sustain, but within these market conditions, it could move to the upside. You know, so from a daily perspective, it looks all right. I just wouldn't be going long yet. I'd be trying to find a better entry long. I just wouldn't trust it right now. Just wouldn't trust Aussie dollar to the upside. But as I said, in these conditions, you know, maybe it does rise, but I've got to stick to my strategy and in the way I see markets, and that is just not a healthy option. And I'll give you an example of that when I talk about ready to move. Is, you know, I've been looking at USD ZAR for quite some time. Unfortunately, I did not get an entry on it. Okay, in terms of our context was here. Okay, context was here. Now there was a possible entry here. However, with my pullbacks, I can't have a break of structure here because it messes things up. But there was a potential entry there, right? But when I talk about ready to move, look at the daily and the weekly on USD ZAR. Okay, we're in a healthy trending market to the downside. Okay, we've created our head and shoulders. Remember, head and shoulders trend change pattern. We're next to that 20. We're next to that 200. We've just crossed over that 200. Right, we've broken structure here. Again, we're not extended. We're looking like this could potentially move. We go to the weekly. Okay, look at the weekly here. Simple stuff. Impulse, very similar to kind of, I guess, Bitcoin or USD CAD. where we're breaking out of this. Look, we're broken out last week underneath that 200 MA, quite a strong area of dynamic support to price. So there's no reason why this couldn't move quite extensively to the downside. Unfortunately, I couldn't get an entry, but this is a good example of what I look for in terms of higher time frame confluence, right? So there you go. Anyway, sorry. Aussie dollar. So I did Aussie dollar. Got in pound Swiss at 2.6, still holding. Well done. Gold has just been choppy. Yeah, it has been. Do you do a lot of live session? I'm new here and I don't do much. No, I used to do lives every day. I do a live London for my kind of personal stuff, but I don't do live YouTubes, no. Apart from this one, so I'll come on here every Tuesday and do a live. Okay, Ryan, could you run through? Oh, okay, I'll do gold first, and then Ian, I'll answer your question. I'll do gold, and then I'll answer your question, and then I guess it's probably my time is up. So gold. I mean, we're seeing our V reversal on the daily, right? Seeing our V reversal on the daily at this area. What it's doing now is quite nice. You know, again, I talk about digestion. It's digesting this decent impulse to the downside. So my gold bias is short. But where do we take the breakout from? I mean, if it's going short, it could be getting our AB shallow C here. ABC from this move, ABC pushing down, probably going to get a reaction here. This is your key zone for gold, for me. Let's have a look at smaller time frames. Daily looks good. 4 hour looks all right. This looks okay. I mean, bias has got to be down, right? Bias has got to be down here. Breaking through, and also with the ABCs, one of my favorite breakouts is breaks of B wave. So if you have an ABC here and we get up and I get my context, whether it be a V reversal or something like that, you normally see decent moves from breaks of B wave. And this is what we're getting possibly here. Again, this is smaller time frames, so I don't want to go and say that's going to happen, but gold certainly looks decent for a short. Does it make sense shorting gold? Not really to me, but again, that's why we go with the technicals, right? So people might say, well, this is on an uptrend. Yes, I agree with that. And notice here, it's a little bit climactic. So sometimes with these climactic moves, this is the premise of my potential fake out strategy, is you get a snap back and creating that V reversal where then I'm looking at the going short. So maybe this is what you're getting here with gold. So yeah, I like it short, but in terms of entries, I guess it's just sticking to your strategy. I missed your live on A1 every week. Yeah, I just couldn't. I mean, 8 o'clock was eating into my dinner time, Denise. You know, I'm a little bit older then, so I was getting tired. But I'm back now because the hour makes such a difference to me. So I do really enjoy coming on here actually. Okay, Ian, can you run through your retest retracement strategy? Okay, I'll go through that and then I'll be done. I'll be off ski to get my dinner. So my breakout retest. So as I said, it could be a cut with handle or whatever. What ideally, let's call this a cut with handle, whatever pair it is we're going long. Ideally, what I'm looking to see, firstly, this doesn't have to happen, but this is preferable. I want to see increasing volume on our break of structure. So if we get increasing volume, that's a good sign, number one. Break through the area. Again, this is ideally. What we're looking to see is smaller in kind of range candles coming back to this area. My number is, I want between 5 to 15 candles. And again, ideally, what we want to see is lowering volume during the retracement phase, okay? And then our catalyst comes on that 20 period, right? We want it on the 20, i.e. ready to move, RTM. Our catalyst, which my favorite type of break or favorite type of catalyst is our hammer bar, very simple bar, coming on higher volume, right, for me to go long. So again, that's what I'm looking for. In terms of an ABC, we want the same thing, but if we're looking at an ABC, okay, here, if we do get higher volume on this phase, this is okay. So if we break out with high volume, lowering volume during A wave, ideally, again, this is ideally, it doesn't always happen, but ideally higher volume on B wave, lower in volume, and then our catalyst here, whatever it is, engulfing bar, on high volume to go to the upside. So what I'll do is in the coming weeks, I'll prepare a bit more example. I kind of showed that with New Zealand yen, but that's what I'm looking for. But also what's important with these breakout retests is, as I was talking about, is higher time frames. So you want higher time frames potentially ready to move. Right, I call my catalyst an RTE, reason to enter, but we want all these things lining up for a nice trade to the upside. So I am quite selective. I don't take many trades, but because of that, I'm allowed to risk a little bit more, which is 2%. But that's essentially, so let me know if that helped you, Ian. As I said, as I go on, I'll start to explain more and more. Monsieur, sorry, I'm just going through. Do you do a lot of like, I've done that. Gold, I've done gold. Monsieur, yeah, short. Not at the moment. How do you link moving averages with price action? How do I link moving averages with price action? I mean, the 20 is a visual guide, right? So I'm very heavily dependent on my eyes. I always think that's the easiest thing to see. So I'm looking at gold, or for example, I'm looking at Aussie yen, and right off the bat, I can see that I don't want to be involved in this until it pulls back because it's too extended. It's just too extended for me. And, you know, if I use the 20, I can see quite a big gap between and that 20. So I just use it as a visual guide to get me into a trade at the right time. I mean, look here, right? We pull back to this 20 before a break to the upside. Pull back to the 20. You see it happen quite a lot. And it's just something that I find works really well. Certainly for breakout traders like me or pullback traders, a very simple 20, getting you into trades at the right time. Yes, you might miss a few. You know, we all obviously know there's no holy grail. We just be the casino and not the gambler. But yeah, so there's no real link. It's just the 20s there, Mandisi. And then it comes down to knowledge of price action, right? So yeah. All right, New Zealand Swiss. Okay, I'll do New Zealand Swiss and then I'm done. New Zealand Swiss and then done. I'm pretty sure this is extended, but let's have a look at it. Also, guys, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube, I'm very close to 1,000. Been working a long time for this. If you can subscribe or my Instagram RT Forex, that would be appreciate it. So New Zealand Swiss again on the daily, it has moved quite extensively recently. Not as bad as other pairs, to be fair, but let's have a look at the 4 hour. The 4 hour doesn't, to be fair, the 4 hour doesn't look as bad. We've had a nice corrective here. I just worry about that daily. You know, if we're going long, like I said, you want to be long here. Potentially want to be long there. I don't know whether you want to be long at this area because we may have a decent area of resistance coming up. We've kind of tagged it here, right? Roughly around this area, possibly up here. We'll have to see what the market wants to respect. You know, we don't know that yet. We've had some areas here, but I want to see where the market respects now. So yeah, maybe on a pull back in and then move to the upside would make sense. Makes sense. Yeah, no worries, right? No worries, mate. Every Tuesday. Yeah, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I think. I always just say 6 p.m. GST. I find a 20 or 24 EMA pullback to that with price action usually a good entry point. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 24 EMA is obviously a little bit faster, so it makes sense. Makes sense. Again, very simple stuff. All the stuff, you know, my trading strategy is very simple to teach. Psychology is the hardest part of trading. Psychology, absolutely the hardest part of trading. No worries, treasure. No worries, treasure. Right, everyone, make sure you like the stream if you like the stream. And I guess that'll be it for this evening. I've done an hour. Appreciate A1 for having me back. As I said, I will be back every week. But yeah, remember to trade safe. Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks again for watching today's show. Our goal at A1 Trading is to continue to share free value to our audience through daily videos and articles, keeping you up to date with the latest market coverage. If you enjoy our content, make sure to subscribe for more. And remember to check the description below if you're looking for a new broker, trying to get funded, or looking for a trading community to join. From all of us at A1 Trading, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.